Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Relix, and today we're going to go over episode 11 of season 7 of My Hero Academia. And this one, if you guys saw this episode, you guys should know exactly how I feel. The ending was absolutely emotional, and without a doubt, this is my favorite episode of the season. I'll even spoil it right now. So again, if you guys have not seen the episode, this is a spoilers review. So if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It was a really, really, really good one. I can't say that enough. And so with that in mind, I am going to give my rating actually at the very beginning here. Straight up, I'm going to say it's 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. This was an absolute perfection episode as far as everything is concerned. It has emotion, character development. There's no real plot armor involved in this episode. And again, if you guys saw the episode, you guys know why that is. And there's just everything was really well done. I don't know how to say it. Like, I'm a little lost for words because of how well made this episode was. And again, I don't read the manga, so this is all just based on what I see in the anime, and it was just absolutely amazing, heartfelt, and I thought something here, I was wrong, and then boom, it changed over here. I'm like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Is this character going to be hurt? Is this character going to be hurt? I don't know. So we'll go over it. But first off, let's start off with our heroes of the episode. So I really thought about it in this episode, and again, this episode had a lot of things going for it, including the ending. However, a lot of people were involved in this entire episode. The episode focused on the coffin in the sky. It never went to anywhere else, and I absolutely love that it only focused on one location. And so we got to see what's happening in the coffin in the sky, what happened to Bakugo at the end of the last episode, where he used his final and biggest attack, as he stated, to try and defeat Tomura Shigaraki, and unfortunately it failed. So here we get to see what's the result of that. And just to start off, again, heroes of the episode, I had to go with the big three. I couldn't choose just one person amongst what I would say 4 guys, right? So again, if you guys saw the episode, you guys know who I'm going to be talking about. So obviously the big 3 here: Lemillion, Nejire-chan, and Sun Eater. And then of course Bakugo being the other person who could have also been the hero of the episode. Overall, I think the big 3 had a bigger presence in this episode. It was more focused on them. However, the episode itself obviously was, it revolved around Bakugo more. But either way, we'll get into it. We're here to discuss this. At least for me, I'm here to share my thoughts. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys saw of this episode, though, because it was a huge one. So again, because of the fact of what happened in this episode, this way may be a little bit longer video, maybe shorter, I don't know. We'll see. We will see how things go. But let's start off with what happened in the very beginning. We got a recap of what happened at the end of the last episode. Bakugo's attack failed. Tomura broke his right arm, and then tossed him away. The other heroes, Murko, Edgeshot, and I think Best Genius was also involved in the final attack. They all got knocked away from a All Might attack swing, that an airwave that just sent them flying away. They are all injured. They are all straight up injured. As we will see, Best Genius also got some kind of cut or something on his face. His entire face is bloody. So we do know that they are all injured from that attack wave, and for the most part, it doesn't really disrupt how they their overall health. We do see them fight again. However, we do see that Tomura is absolutely a monster and is practically unstoppable right now. So the episode actually, after the opening credits and the recap, we actually start off with this scene right here with Mandalay and all the guys on the outside of the coffin in the sky. Phantom Thief and Eraserhead counseling out Tomura's quirks, or specifically his decay quirk with Manuel. And then, of course, they're talking about how Midoriya is not there yet, and they actually have no longer have communication. For some reason, Mandalay cannot communicate with anybody. For some reason, she's only reading static, and that could be. I don't think it was told why it's like that, but she has static, and I'm guessing that's the reason is because of the explosion that Bakugo unleashed at the end of the last episode. It probably caused something overall to change in the area, the atmosphere in the area. I'll skip ahead now and say that from the blast that Bakugo did last episode, and then of course the plasma cannon blast from this episode, it definitely causes, probably cause some kind of change in the atmosphere that will cause the rain that comes later, the storm. Hence the reason why Mandalay has static, because it's hard to do get clear readings in storms. And so I think that's kind of a foreshadow here at the start of the episode why Mandalay can't actually communicate with anyone from outside of the Coffin in the Sky area. So that's just my thought, though. I thought it was a foreshadow for sure, but we'll see what happens next after that. So in the meantime, Eraserhead is actually quite worried because the situation has become very dire. Bakugo is now injured completely. His morale is down. All the other heroes are kind of down and out. If you guys remember last episode, we got a quick scene with Sun Eater and Neji-chan. They both got knocked down easily. So we didn't see them for the rest of the episode. And I was like kind of concerned that, one hit and you're done. Or is it, they just didn't get more camera time? I don't know. But at the same time, we got to see what happens next in this episode. Hence the reason why they're part of the big three for the heroes of the episode. So we actually get to see Eraserhead is now, concerned about Bakugo. He actually orders Mirko, Edgeshot, and Best Jeanist to protect him at all costs. He actually gives them the orders to please protect him, because Bakugo is aiming to be the number one hero in the world, and that is his goal, that is his dream. And I think that was kind of a special moment right here. Again, another foreshadow for what happens in the future of this episode. And I thought that was like, wow, he really cares about Bakugo, regardless that he's just one of his students. But this is a huge situation where apparently Tomura is just way too strong for everybody, and they may misjudge the situation. And then it cuts off to Sun Eater. And here Sun Eater is actually, he's fine. He stands up. He may have been knocked down, but he's okay. Injury-wise, there seems to be no apparent injury. He's just, just a little beat up. Scratches here and there. Bruises probably. And he stands up, looks back at the buildings, and sees the UA school in ruins. I didn't even put it together that this is actually a UA. For some reason, that just blew past my mind for some reason. Yeah, they are at UA, and that's the school behind them. And it's completely destroyed. And so Neji-chan also joins him out of the rubble. And by the way, I didn't notice my first watch. As I was getting images for the review and stuff and reviewing it, I actually noticed that Sun Eater has his hands on a desk. And there is multiple desks kind of around the area as well. They're all destroyed. And it's kind of sad because he was saying that, with UA destroyed, how are they supposed to graduate? And they're saying that, it's really sad that they can't graduate now because the school's been destroyed. All this is happening, and it's very, very sad moment for him, especially for a guy who, doesn't have too many friends. He's always the background character, but, he just wanted to be able to share special moments like that with his friends. And so that's where we actually get a voice from within the ground coming through. And it's none other than Lemillion breaking his way through the ground and appearing before us. And he says that they need to make the principal take responsibility for this and give them a proper graduation when this fight is over. And I thought that was funny. Typical Lemillion cracking jokes in the worst situations. And just by his appearance coming in, that has inspired his friends, his best friends, Nejire and Sun Eater, to rise up again, prepare themselves for another fight. And this time, the big three are going to be a team going forward. And I thought that was a really cool scene, and that led to the opening title of the episode, Light Fades to Rain. But I thought for sure this picture right here, definitely a very cool moment in this episode, without a doubt. It's like wallpaper worthy, And maybe that's just me, but man, they look absolutely amazing together. That's why they are called the Big Three. They are a team. They are best friends, and I think that is something absolutely special. And so we also get, to see them work together in this entire episode. We got to see each of them individually throughout the anime, on their own in different locations and their powers. But I think this is the first time we actually see them together, and work as a team. So this is absolutely amazing to see. And of course, if you guys, like I said, if you guys are watching the episode, you guys know that the teamwork was none other than phenomenal. So continuing on, Bakugo gets caught hostage. There is nothing that anyone else could do. Everyone's injured. Bakugo gets caught in a choke hold by Tomura with one hand. Man, he is suddenly super strong. In any case, Bakugo is basically wounded. He can't do anything right now. He's incapacitated. He can't even resist. His arms, his legs, he's just down and out. I also think he's just demoralized at this time, so there's nothing he can do. He's just kind of thinking about what's going to be coming up next. Either way, he isn't able to do anything, and he needs to be rescued. And as Eraserhead said, they need to protect him at all costs. And so that leads to the duo attack by Nejire-chan and Sun Eater. They start the attack for the Big Three first. Nejire, using her power from the air. Unfortunately, as a hostage, Tomura actually just pointed Bakugo towards her energy blast, and she had to redirect her attack, and it unfortunately didn't do anything. But it did kind of work as a distraction, and so Sun Eater was able to use scorpion-like tentacle arm things to actually inject Tomura's good arm, not his growth arm, with some kind of poison. Unfortunately, we get to see the growth of Tomura transform again, and you can see in the bottom right of this picture here, there's a little purple spot. Well, that's where he injected the poison, but Tomura is expanding his growth even more. It's transforming even more, and it created a mouth in his arm and just spat the poison out completely, unharmed. And I was like, that is absolutely creepy. And what's even more creepy is what happened next. My goodness. He transforms even more, so now all of his growth is starting to create mouths all over the place. You can see there's a mouth on every single piece of growth on this picture, on this scene. It is actually very creepy. I mean, look at the very center. There's a finger coming out of the tongue in the middle of the growth. That is just absolutely disgusting. I was like, oh, that is creepy. Like I said, when I first saw the growth back in episode 1 or 2, whatever it was, that was creepy enough. But now this is just going on to another level. My goodness. So we got to see this creepy scene. But either way, they formed a huge distraction, even though their attacks didn't work. And we also got to see Lemillion come into play. He comes in with his powers. He can, he could just slide right through all the growth from Tomura, and he actually swiped Bakugo away from him and rescued him. He actually tossed him in the air. Best Genius pulled him away with his strings, and then Lemillion goes on to fight Tomura. Because he cannot be touched. We know his quirk allows him to just fall through material and just, not exist. And I forgot exactly how his quirk works, but it is a very powerful quirk, and it allows him to bounce off of different matters as well, and therefore his speed is incredible. However, he does lack the power to actually take Tomura down. That's where the big three come into play again. This time, it's Lemillion and Neji coming into play. In the air, she tosses Lemillion her power in a spiral of energy, and then he catches it with his arm. Don't know if that's even a thing, to be honest. I don't remember Neji-chan being able to just send someone her power compared to just being able to just, exert it out of her hands and legs. But either way, it was still a cool combo. With the power in his hands, Lemillion moves in close and gets a solid punch to the gut into Tomura's stomach. And again, as the pictures are showing, he cannot be touched, and therefore he's just, going right through it and allowing his arms to just do all the work and punch through Tomura. And the results, nothing. Nothing happened. By the way, look at that mouth in the middle. My goodness, look at that thing. Creepy as heck. Actually, there's two mouths there. Oh my god, there's so many mouths. It is creepy. In any case, Lemillion's attack with Neji's help did not do anything. You guys can see there's a small pink blemish in the middle of Tomura's stomach. That's all it did. Just left a little bruise, but as we know, he has regeneration effects that will probably kick in the moment that Eraserhead releases his quirk. Therefore, he's unharmed. The growth is just expanding too much to the point where he cannot be hurt too bad, and in the end, nothing happened. Meanwhile, we actually get to see what's happening with Bakugo after he got tossed away, and Best Genius says that he would help heal Bakugo's arm somehow. Now, how does that work? I don't know, but we do see that Bakugo's arm is somewhat recovered-ish, a little bit. Not entirely sure if that was the case. But either way, he says he's going to help him with it. We actually get to see Bakugo cry. If I remember correctly, and I'm not saying this is 100%, but if I remember correctly, this is actually the first time ever that we're seeing Bakugo cry at all. Like, I'm not talking about like small watery tears in the eye. We're talking like actual tears running down someone's face, kind of crying. And I think this is the first time we've seen Bakugo cry. And this is a huge moment. And I was thinking to myself, what else can he do? He feels helpless, clearly. And this is the moment where, he just unleashed his strongest attack, at least according to him, is his strongest attack. And it did nothing. So what more can he do in this fight? And I think that's what he's thinking. He's absolutely helpless. He can't do anything. He's just kind of in the way. And, everyone has to try and protect him. And I think that goes, hand in hand with how the anime has gone so far, where Bakugo's always been the target. From the very moment before they got into UA, with the sludge monster, all the way through the villain arc, etc., etc. Bakugo's always been the target of the villains. They've always been able to kidnap him, or him being the victim, not the hero, not the guy who goes out and, beats the bad guys. And so I think he's really starting to realize that, and he's feeling very helpless in this moment. Well, we also see in the bottom right corner that he has a strong desire to do something about, what's going on. So then it cuts back into Lemillion and Tomura, and we get to see a small scene. They're clashing fists here and there. We get to see Lemillion actually insult Tomura about not having friends because of the fact that he is trying to destroy everything. He even asks him, "Why are you destroying everything?" And Tomura responds that, the current structure of how the world works, with the heroes being the guys who fix, solve everything, isn't working. And therefore, as villains, they are trying to fix that world and make it even better. That's their goal. And so, Lemillion responds to that saying, well, if you had friends, you wouldn't be destroying things, because friends would never let you destroy things. Therefore, you must not have friends. You are friendless. And that really pissed Tomura off to the point where he's just kind of unleashing all of his growth at Lemillion. It actually struck a nerve inside of him that, we can see in the top left picture. There's a bunch of arms. This is internal, right? Grabbing onto Shigaraki's face. And this is where I was like, that's interesting, because this is the first time we've seen it since, I think last season, the internal struggle of the person, the boy inside of this body that was consumed by All For One in the last season. So this actually plays a part into what Midoriya wants to do and save, I guess you can say, the innocent boy inside of this body. It's not actually Tomura Shigaraki inside there. And so I think that is just, again, this episode is just full of foreshadow, and I think this will definitely play a part in the future for sure, especially when Midoriya actually gets here, because he is on his way. Which I wouldn't be surprised if not the next episode, but episode 13 actually focuses directly on the Coffin in the Sky again, because of the fact that Midoriya is coming, and of course, if we see the ending, Bakugo has some kind of involvement here. So, anyways, back to this current time. Calling him friendless, huge mistake. Tomura actually has a moment of a pause, in his attack. And he's like, "How dare you!" Like, he didn't say that, but it's like you can read his face. He's like, "How dare you! I do have friends. Like, what the hell are you talking about?" And he gets so mad. He goes on a small rant, and then Lemillion's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was actually cracking up. That was absolutely hilarious. It was just a huge, comedy relief moment for such a dire situation. And again, that's what Lemillion brings to the anime, and I definitely think his character is a big part of the show, and I love to see him. Again, not like, my top 10 favorite characters probably, but he's definitely a really good character. I think his personality is amazing, and even in this situation where he just pissed off a villain, he still apologized to him, and it's absolutely hilarious. But that was pretty funny. So after Lemillion gets actually sidetracked from that, he got pushed away by the growth because he was distracted by saying sorry. Tomura starts to go after Bakugo again, and Best Jeanist is actually in the way. He will not allow Bakugo to come to harm. That was what he was ordered to do, and therefore, even though he is injured, he will do everything in his power to protect him. Unfortunately, there's not much he can do, so he's just standing there this episode, being in the way. At the same time, Neji is actually trying to fight her hardest as Tomura is starting to walk towards Bakugo, and unfortunately, the growth is just too strong. As we saw in the last episode, she was knocked out by a couple big, forms of growth. But now we can see that her power actually allows her to disintegrate the growth that's kind of right there in front of her. As we actually saw from this episode, I think they actually say it too. The closer the growth is to Tomura's main body, the harder it is. Therefore, the tougher and more solid it is. Therefore, powers like Neji's, which release energy, will not be able to crack his armor, his growth from close quarters. Hence the reason why from far away, she is able to destroy it. As we see here in this picture, she is actually able to destroy the very ends of the growth. I guess not tails, but the expansions of it. And even then, she doesn't have enough power, and probably energy still to keep this up, because she is exhausted. We can clearly see that she's injured. Clearly, she got actually cut from her stomach. We can see her outfit is actually ripped in the very middle, and her face gets scratched up, of course. So she is struggling to keep up with the fight just because it is a huge, overwhelming attack that the growth is unleashing upon her. And we actually get a flashback here as well from her past, which is, I thought it was kind of out of place at first, but then after what the flashback represents, we get to see that it actually works well with the episode. And so we go to the flashback. Okay, what's up? Neji-chan's actually very cute. She is very cute. She is very adorable. I don't know how many words to describe her. She's just amazingly cute. And she, in her childhood days, she actually went around very interested in everyone's quirks. Doesn't matter who you were or what you were, she was invested. As soon as she saw your quirk, she wanted to ask you a ton of questions. She couldn't stop talking. Her attention span was just like, I want to know everything about you, kind of thing. And I thought that was absolutely adorable. You can see the face on her. She's just happy, just, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it anymore. She's just really invested in everybody and everything about quirks. And I thought that was adorable. Unfortunately, you guys can also see from the background characters, the extras, they're not actually fond of her presence around them and talking about their quirks. And so we get to see that this leads to her childhood not being what one would hope it would be like. She didn't get the very welcoming, she's friends with everyone kind of reception when she was younger. Everyone actually thought that because her quirk allows her to do more than theirs, like for example flying or destroying things, it was so much better than everyone else's. Everyone else resented her for it and thought that she was showing off and being mean to others. But that's kind of the opposite of what she was trying to do. She was just trying to become friends and more interested in everyone else's quirks because she thought everyone else was amazing just like her. And so that leads to her being very isolated, very alone, all the way until she got into UA, where she goes in thinking she has no friends, and she has an attitude. We can see clearly on her face that she is not a happy camper. She is very upset and just doesn't want to be bothered by anyone because no one wants to bother with her. So the more she tried to get close to people, the more they went drifted away. But then came along this guy, none other than Sun Eater himself, in their first years. By the way, we get to see on the left, what was it, Yu Yu Haya, I think that was her name again. Also part of the Coffin in the Sky crew, powering the whole thing. She's there too. She's part of their grade, but she was there too when they first met her, Neji-chan, and he gives her the million thumbs up and asked, "What hero is your favorite?" And of course, one background character too. And from that moment, Neji-chan was revived. Her bad attitude, like no one cares about me, so I'm not going to care about anyone else, disappeared instantaneously, and she was just 100% intrigued in whoever just talked to her, and she returned to her old former self, as we see in the top right picture. And everyone loves that. Everyone is happy again. She is herself again, bright, happy, and just joyful. And then that leads to her explaining how UA life has been great to her, and that she wants to help not just protect her friends, her best friends, as we see in the bottom pictures, but everyone's dreams. Protect the school, protect the hero society, and everything like that. This is a great flashback that leads into a inspiring moment, and I thought it was actually well done. We get to see character development for Neji, as well as how did these guys all meet together. And so it's a great moment. I thought the flashback was well done, and it tied into the next scenes. We return to the fight. Neji-chan is actually releasing even more energy than she did before. She is no longer just punching the growth away. She is actually blowing it away with her energy blast in multiple locations. And we also see one of these trails of energy is actually leading back to Sun Eater himself. And with that energy, he is actually devouring it alongside of his quirk that he is eating multiple food, apparently, to enhance his quirk. He is going for his ultimate move, which is an understatement compared to what we've seen so far. So we've seen his quirk obviously allows him to transform parts of his body into whatever he eats and gets, abilities based on those things that he eats. And in this case, he's devouring so much. Technically, his quirk is limitless, as they also say in the show as well. And I don't think there is a limit to what he can do with his quirks as long as he keeps eating. And in this case, he devours so much that he's able to transform his entire arm into a cannon. And with the power of Neji-chan's energy blast, he is able to transform, something that just was nothing into a cannon that, as he states, was a plasma cannon. And he unleashed a powerful blast with Neji's power right back at Tomura, blowing away all of the growth in its path. Complete disintegration. Bottom left picture shows Tomura actually being disintegrated. Unfortunately, this is the one little bit that I had a problem with. We clearly see that Tomura is being disintegrated on that picture, but then literally like a second after that frame, he's actually fine, and his growth continues to expand again against the cannon blast, even though the cannon blast is still going. But then we also see Lemillion come in, and in the bottom right picture, he smashes his fist into Tomura's face. Now, in this moment, I was thinking to myself, okay, that plasma cannon was enough to destroy and disintegrate growth that was in the way. So, and I was fearing this too, because I was thinking foreshadow all the way. Like, there's too many signs, and the music too. The music, understatement of the show for sure. Everything's leading up to these moments, and I'm like, is someone going to die here? I was like, is Neji going to sacrifice herself? Like, as she's powering up Sun Eater, is she going to be, blindsided and just, completely killed on the sideline? Or in this moment, I thought, is Lemillion sacrificing himself? And is he going to die in the plasma cannon blast? No, unfortunately not. Just a little bit disappointed because, again, Lemillion is clearly in the blast. And after this scene here, we actually get to see the plasma blast completely blast through the coffin in the sky and out towards the lands far away. And so I was actually confused, like, how did Lemillion actually survive this? Even with his quirk that can, go through material, he's technically hitting Tomura with his fist, so therefore he can't go through the blast itself. So just a little bit of a plot convenient right there. Otherwise, absolutely amazing scene, absolutely amazing teamwork from the big three. And again, I thought for sure this is one of the reasons why they are the heroes of the episode. Their teamwork was phenomenal. Not only did they do two, and then a Sun Eater and Neji-chan, and then do Neji-chan and Lemillion, but now all three are working together here, and I thought that was absolutely amazing. By the way, I totally forgot to mention that Lemillion's actually here this whole time. He was in the coffin in the sky the whole time. His role was actually stated here in this episode that he is a messenger and guard. His role here was to not allow any other villains to attack the coffin in the sky, specifically on the outside where Eraserhead, Phantom Thief, and Manuel are, and Mendeley. Because if they end up getting attacked, then obviously the Eraserhead's quirk is going to stop, and the decay from Tomura would activate. So his job was to intercept any villains that come their way. Fortunately enough, no villains are there, so he couldn't sit back any longer. He decided to take action because of the situation in the very beginning where everyone's getting their butt kicked, and so now he's here and helping them. And again, that just leads into this episode how well the teamwork is with the big three. They go from Sun Eater and Neji being beat up by the growth to all of a sudden being able to come up with this short plan that worked and disintegrated the body of the growth completely. Unfortunately, the result is not 100% devastation. We also get to see here, you guys can see Sun Eater's cannon there, Best Jeanist in the front. We actually see Mirko come from the sky and land on top of the growth debris. Literally, the growth was, I think, cut off from Tomoru's body at the point of the impact, and she's sitting on it. I was like, what the heck? That's kind of funny. That was actually kind of like, she's far away in the scene, so it's kind of blurry, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious that she just landed on top and just kind of sitting there on the growth. Like, I wouldn't even want to touch it. Like, that is just creepy. Look at the mouth. Look at the mouths are in those hands. Like, how can you... Like, if you saw that in real life, you cannot tell me you would not be freaked out. That is ridiculously creepy. In any case, Tomoru comes out of the smoke and is perfectly fine. His growth literally rejuvenates itself instantaneously to a large size, and he is perfectly fine. The entire plasma cannon did not do anything, and I thought to myself, there might be an explanation for it. I'm just gonna go with, the plasma cannon itself was just not strong enough at the point of impact where his main body was. Even though we saw it was disintegrating, we did hear that, in close quarters, it is so hard, it's, not going to be easy to break through. And I think this is the same reasoning here, at the point of impact, which is his body, the growth is just too thick and too strong, and therefore he was able to protect himself, even without his regeneration quirks. So, that's just my thought. Again, it's just probably the weakest part of this entire attack. Or this entire scene, I should say. Not so much the attack's fault, I just think it's plot convenience for him. But overall, it was still an amazing scene, and of course, him coming back out is, a statement here. So we actually get to move on to the next scene where Bakugo realizes that didn't work. He rises up, and I thought for sure, this is it. This is going to be, this is closing to the end of the episode. I'm not keeping track of how long it is, and so, what's going to happen now? This is the, not power of friendship, but the inspired moment. What's going to happen to our main hero here? And for sure, it was a really great scene. So we get to see Bakugo stand up, starts walking. He is bleeding. We clearly see there's a patch of grass there. His blood spilling onto the ground. He is completely injured. He is devastatingly injured. We also see his equipment overall is pretty much destroyed. But we get this statement: I have to win, right, Izuku? And when I heard that line, I was like, oh my goodness, Bakugo's gonna die, isn't he? And so, look at him. He looks like death itself right now. Crying still, bloodied as hell, and he's telling himself he has to win for Midoriya. And I was like, oh my goodness. Not only does he have to try and win, but I believe, again, just like the first time we see him cry, I think this is the first time he said Izuku, right? I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, he always called Midoriya Deku, or, something along, the lines of him not being his equal. And I think this was a moment of respect for him to Midoriya, to the fact that, he acknowledges that Midoriya is his, is better, but he has to win this fight to prove that he can still be strong. And so we actually move on to the next scene. Best Jeanist actually realizes that he Bakugo can't fight. He tells him not to go. He even tries to grab him back, but unfortunately he misses. Bakugo suddenly gets a power boost. He unleashes something within him that is just, along the lines of, your final resolve, and he ends up unleashing sweat from every pore in his body, allowing him to speed up his explosions throughout his entire body. Not just his palms, where he usually stores up his sweat. Hence the reason why he had those grenade gauntlets the entire show, which are now dead. They're destroyed. We saw in the previous episode. But yeah, he is able to see all the flashing lights on these pictures. Every bit of flashing light there is actually his sweat glands exploding. His sweat is just coming off him in all directions. His head, his fingers, his arms, his legs, everywhere his body is, that's where the sweat's coming off, and it's allowing him to cause small explosions to increase his speed, as well as maneuver in midair and in all directions. And so with that new speed, he actually gets a face to his palm to his Tomura's face, and explodes, blast right in his face. And I thought that was a really cool scene. And then he was also murmuring words before this, like front, back, under, this, that, things like that. And I was like, what is he talking about? Is he going crazy? No, he was actually studying Tomura's arms, his attack patterns, and we even get to see the reactions of the other heroes in the area. And Best Jeanist said it best. He saw it and dodged, and we get to see that Bakugo was actually studying Tomura's attack patterns, allowing him to read his moves and dodge his attacks. This is, again, homage to Midoriya and how he is a study freak, and he he reads the attack patterns of his opponents and is able to come up with plans, as well as analyze how he can fight against his enemies. And we get to see a final move here where he's just moving around using his quirk to his its finest, again moving in all directions, and we get to see him have some flashbacks as well as some final words. So we get to see him reminisce about the times that they entered UA, as well as their time through the entire show. And he realizes at this moment, like, you can clearly see he is quite injured, and he realizes in this moment, and I have so many notes on this episode that it's just absolutely insane, and I'm going to quote this one. He says, "Fighting while in pain, trying to spot the enemy tells. You already went through all this, didn't you? Hey, Izuku, can I still catch up to you?" In this moment, he acknowledges that Midoriya is absolutely on another level than him. Because this entire show, the entire time, Bakugo thought that he is the best, the absolute number one hero amongst the entire class, amongst some of the pro heroes, and he would be the one to, catch up and basically replace All Might in the future, be the number one hero. And in this moment, we finally get recognition here that he no longer believes he can be the number one hero, because Midoriya is just so far ahead of him, and that the pain that Midoriya has been going through since they entered, hence the reason in the bottom left picture, his quirks always hurting him. He's been studying the enemy's moves, including the fight where they went one-on-one in the training arcs in the very beginning, the first few seasons. Things like that. He reminisced about all that in this moment and thought to himself, like, he can he somehow catch up to Midoriya's power level? Or is this truly his ceiling here? And not only him, but we also get to see that Tomura is actually struggling because he's getting frustrated with Bakugo. Bakugo's not going away. He doesn't want to kill him necessarily. He wants Midoriya to see his broken body. But then he goes to say that, you are a side character. You should be nothing You don't even have one for all. You're not the one I want. And then this starts to flash back in his mind, of the second user, Kudo, second user of One for All, the guy who rescued Yoichi Shigaraki from All for One back in the day. And this is actually confirmation here that Tomura Shigaraki is actually All for One's mind. It may be Tomura's body, but it is actually All for One who is in control. It's like not necessarily him All for One himself, but it's his soul, his essence. That's what's really controlling this body, this husk of a body. And the boy that we saw earlier in the episode, that is actually Tomura, and he is the prisoner of this, of All for One. So I think this episode, again, has many plot points in it and has a lot of information. And I think this is definitely one of those connection type episodes where we get to see that, yes, it is not the actual Tomura Shigaraki we saw in the first few seasons. It is actually All for One's soul that is in control of this body. And this flashback to, his memories actually demonstrates it, because the hand that's actually grabbing Kudo by the neck, that was actually All for One. We actually get to see it from a farther distance, that All for One is the one who's holding him. And there is no way that Tomura would be able to see this in his mind, because he's not the one who was there back in the past. And so I think that's confirmation that this was All for One doing this. Then we go back to the present, and during Bakugo's final attack, he actually has another internal moment. We get to see All Might's soul, the One for All version of himself, in the top left corner. He appears before Bakugo in his mind. Now, obviously, is this real? Probably not. I mean, I don't really see how it would be, but in a sense, it actually reveals quite a bit. We get to, again, character development was huge in this episode. We get to see Bakugo reach into his pocket and pull out an All Might card, number 1 hero card. And bottom left picture, we see that he and Midoriya, they're happy. They got trading cards. He got All Might. He is ecstatic. And as we know from previous seasons, he wanted to be the number 1 hero. He looked up to All Might, the guy who he wanted to replace and be as strong as, And when they went to UA, I had to quote this one too. He says, in this moment, in this scene, he says, well, to the All Might soul, by the way. Well, when we first met, I guess I was kind of a brat, so I didn't get a chance to say this. I wanted your autograph. And with the card in hand, he just stares at the All Might soul in acknowledgement, like all this time, underneath all of the attitude, all of the rage, all the anger that he's always demonstrated on the outside, he actually had a very, very, innocent, kind of personality. And the only thing he really wanted from All Might, besides his acknowledgement, was his autograph on his number 1 hero card. And I thought that was absolutely special. We have seen in the past, not to mention in opening and ending credits, of Bakugo holding the All Might card. And I thought to myself, this card will play a part at some point, and this was actually the moment that it did. Then it also flashed to the present. We actually get a vision or a scene of Bakugo's heart. And I thought to myself, what does that mean? And we can hear it beating in the background. And then this scene pops up. This image here only lasted 1.5 seconds or something. We get to see his heart, Bakugo's heart, clearly getting blown away. We can see pieces of it being ripped apart. And Bakugo's attack failed. He gets blown away. We see the other heroes too, engaging. Mirko, Best Genius, actually has some of his wires. Ed Shot is supposed to be there. I don't see him in the top left picture, but we do see him in the bottom left picture. Lemillion reaching in, Neji-chan, I believe Sun Eater was there. Yeah, Sun Eater's there as well. And they all attacked at the same exact moment. Unfortunately, the attack did not work. We clearly see in the bottom left. They all get blown away, and except for Lemillion, of course, because he can just go through it. But this actually, in the moment, I actually thought to myself, all their faces weren't just like they're attacking, specifically Lemillion's. I was like, he's not worried about the attack itself. His face, Lemillion's face, tells me he is scared that Bakugo was hurt. Like, I'm pretty sure it was his job to help protect Bakugo in Midoriya's absence. Not because Midoriya asked him to, but because of the fact what he represents to him, to Midoriya. And in this moment, it's not so much as Lemillion was trying to help attack, he was trying to help save Bakugo from this final, result. And unfortunately, he could not. And so he went flying, and as Bakugo's body went flying and starts to roll across the ground, we see Best Genius actually, look at his face. Best Genius' face is like in total shock. Like, he is concerned out of his mind as Bakugo's, sensei, and it's just like, what the heck? He's like, no, his precious student has just been destroyed and knocked away. And we also get to see this scene here of the All Might card falling to the ground. And again, this scene is strong. Again, we don't see the All Might card ever in Bakugo's possession, except for flashbacks and opening and ending credits. But we clearly see it here that it was always with him. It is his most prized possession. And with the card falling to the ground as well as his body, we get to see the end of something. Cuts away to a weather forecast, and we get to see Bakugo's parents. And she says, Bakugo's mother says, that kid hates rain. She's worried about the weather and how, he hates the rain. And of course, if you guys know the typical ray of light, dark storms kind of tropes, you guys know that when there comes rain, it's a sad moment. It is an absolutely sad moment. Again, this plays a part into how the, like I said in the beginning, Bakugo's final attack in the last episode, and then the Plasma Cannon Blast in this episode, probably helped cause this storm to just suddenly appear because of the fact that Mandalay could not get any communications out because of the static. Because this storm is being created in the area from all of the stuff that's happening. But yeah, in the end, Tomura is actually unharmed, completely strong as ever, growth continuing to grow out. You can see Mirko, Ed Shot on the ground. Best Genius is actually there. He actually runs back to Bakugo's body, and all the while, Tomura's having his monologue here, saying that it is no longer, up to you guys what's going to happen. It is our story. It is time for the era of the villains to take charge, and there is nothing they can do about it. I thought that was a very strong scene, strong few second scene for Tomura and his power to be represented here. Again, creepy Mal's in the background, my goodness. But yeah, this is obviously not Tomura Shigaraki specifically, but All For One and his, I guess you can say, Demon Lord body here. I don't know how to explain it. If you guys watch, you guys know what I mean, or trying to say here. That isn't Tomura. That's actually All For One in a matter of speaking. And then, of course, as Best Genius walks back and checks Bakugo if he's alright, he discovers that Bakugo's heart has been, I'm assuming, has been destroyed, and therefore we get this final scene that led to the opening, the ending credits of the episode, where Bakugo is, I cannot say it any other way, he is dead. My favorite character in the show has died. And with the All Might card next to him, also bloodied and ripped and damaged, I think this is truly the end of Bakugo, and I was crying the entire, like, I was like, my goodness. Not only was this entire episode a beautiful episode, like, it was so well made. Let me get this out of there. Oh my god. Not only was the episode itself just so well made, the characters, the character developments, the plot, the action, everything, the music, it was so good. It was just so well made that the leading up to this scene, I was crying. Like, we're not like talking about tears here or tear here. We're talking like tears coming down my face, down my chin, dripping onto the floor beneath me. I was like, what the hell just happened? And I was like, in a moment where he could have been triumph, he wanted to acknowledge that, Midoriya is much better and far past him. Can he catch up to him? This was his moment to shine. And Bakugo ended up failing, and he died for it. And I was just absolutely torn apart from that. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be dead. Unfortunately, I don't think this is it. He's literally like the second main character of the entire show. He's like literally the Sasuke of Naruto, right? Midoriya is Naruto, right? It's like you can't kill Bakugo off. Like, it just can't happen that way. So I don't want to believe it, but this is exactly what I've been waiting for this entire season. A death. Just like the impact that Midnight's death had on the Class 1A, specifically Pinky, I think this is going to be a trigger point for Midoriya when he gets there. Like I said, I'm not expecting it to be next episode, but probably episode 13, Midoriya will arrive, he will see Bakugo's corpse, and just like, for example, like in Naruto will go berserk and, lose control of his powers. Same thing's going to happen here. Deku's going to lose control of his powers and just unleash everything. His anger is just going to overwhelm him, and he will end up being uncontrollable. In fact, I think maybe even Eraserhead may have to use his power against Deku in the end. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I don't read Eraserhead in the manga, so I have no idea what's happening. I have to wait week by week basis to see what happens, and this is some crazy stuff. But I was absolutely in tears. My favorite hero's dead, at least according to this scene. And it's just the way he died. It's just even more disheartening because, in the end, he was powerless. He was absolutely powerless to do anything. And even his final attacks, everything he put into it, his final attacks, it didn't matter. Todoroki came out of it unscathed. In fact, even without his regeneration quirks, he was perfectly fine. The growth is just too overwhelming, which, by the way, I think is a little too plot convenient because, again, I don't think the growth should be unstoppable. We clearly see that it can be disintegrated by certain attacks. And so the fact that Bakugo unleashed all these attacks and in close combat, and we clearly see it could be effective, it didn't work in this moment. So I'm a little upset about that. But again, it doesn't take away from the moment itself because of what it represented and obviously what's going to, what's going to happen going forward. And so I definitely think this was a very, very touching scene. I'm very sad. I'm very sad that Bakugo is dead. Again, they showed his heart specifically for a reason. So I am assuming, again, there's a hole in his chest. So I am assuming he is dead. His heart was destroyed. Specifically, Tomura probably, pierced his body with, full fist and punctured, if not, beat up, Bakugo's heart. And so I don't think he should be able to come back from this. And if this is truly the end of Bakugo, I'm very saddened. He was my favorite character of the show, for sure. But this is what I've been waiting for. I didn't expect it. I didn't see this coming. But I am happy that it is one of the main characters. It's going to have a huge impact. In fact, because of the way this ended, with Tomura saying that it is now our story. And by the way, let me bring that up again. The subtitles, our story, all caps, ours. And I'm pretty sure that means that next episode, we're probably going to go back to some of the other locations. And we may see some deaths. Maybe we might even see Dabi. We don't even know what that shining light was in his chest. Maybe he gets resurrected. Who knows? We might see Toga and how her battle is going against Floppy and Uraraka. And then, of course, we have some of the other guys around the other battles. Who knows? I want to know what happens with Pinky, too, because the one villain saying that he may have been the one responsible for Midnight's death. I want to see how she resolves that. Does she get revenge, kind of thing? I don't know. We'll see. But I think this episode is definitely one of those trigger points where the villains will probably start to take over, because to this point, the heroes have done pretty much all of the damage. They've been winning. They've been beating up all the villains, things like that. Dabi lost. Mountain Lady's presence, at Gigantomachia's location, she's just stomping on all the villains there. All For One was beat up. Obviously, we saw last episode that he wasn't dead. Don't know what's happening there. I want to find out. But for the most part, Endeavor, Hawks, and of course everyone else there was beating up all the villains. So I think to myself, the heroes have been the victors so far through this war arc. Now it's the heroes' turn, probably. And I think this episode was the start of it. So going forward, I am expecting maybe not more heroes to die necessarily, but I do want to see a lot more heroes injured. Again, just like Bakugo, I don't think all of Class 1A is going to come out of this unscathed. And I think some people have to suffer for it, this is war. And these are kids, students of UA, that are being put on the front lines of battle. You don't come out of wars with no death. There's just no way. And so I think this is one of those episodes where it's going to definitely start the chain of losses, and I think we're in for a rough ride. I was crying for this one, but going forward, I'm probably going to see a lot more tears. I'm going to need a tissue box next to my computer, because my goodness, it was a lot to take in. But for sure, it was a really good episode. Let me know if you guys agree with me. That's where the episode ended, so I can't wait for next episode. Let me know if you guys teared up just as much as I did. And of course, let me know if you guys, do you guys think I'm accurate in my predictions? What's to come? What did I talk about here? Let me know. I want to discuss this stuff. I have no one to talk to. My brother hasn't watched yet, so I have no idea if everyone's thinking the same thing I am. But for sure, this was a very heartfelt episode. And like I said in the very beginning, I already gave it away. 10 out of 10, without a doubt. This is absolute perfection. It had everything, and I can't say more about it. This is the kind of stuff I want to see from the show, as well as any other show, really. This is the kind of stuff that gets viewers, attached to the show. When people die, when people get injured, when people struggle, you connect with those characters, and I thought everything that played out in this episode just worked well together. Even like Nejire-chan, we can clearly see she's struggling to keep up with the power of the growth. Have a flashback that can inspire her. She's doing it for her friends. Gets a small power boost, and there you go. Now, again, like I said, I thought she was going to be injured or killed in that moment. She would sacrifice herself to distract and then get blown away, and then come in with Sun Eater and he blows Tomura away. But I think she's fine. Obviously, everyone got blown away at that last attack as well as Bakugo, but overall, I do think we're probably going to see everyone pretty much okay. But like I said, Midoriya is going to show up right here, right now, and he's going to see Bakugo and just, all hell is going to break loose. So that's my prediction, at least. As far as what the next episode is going to be about, who knows? Maybe they will resume Coffin in the Sky. Maybe they won't. I don't think they will. They'll probably go to a different fight. But we'll see. But for now, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next episode next week. And I can't wait. My goodness. I am having an absolute blast making these reviews. Letting you guys know my thoughts and opinions, as well as being able to choose heroes of the episode. Do you guys agree with me after seeing everything, or do you think Bakugo should have been the hero of the episode? I thought the big three had a huge presence. I thought their teamwork was absolutely amazing, and I just love to see it. Again, we get to see everything: injuries, emotions, all the damage. It just really sticks close to these characters, and then it reflects on the audience as well. I thought it was just really well made. Again, I'm at this point I'm just rambling on, but yeah, I can't. This episode was just absolutely amazing. 10 out of 10. I can't wait for the next episode. Stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoyed this, hit the like button, comment down below anything you have to say. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every little bit helps. And of course, you guys can catch my next review next week. As well as, if you haven't seen them already, go check my other reviews for the other episodes. But until next week, have a great day, week, and time. And I will see you then for the next episode. As far as my usual followers, I will be making some Kings videos for the next near future. As the summer ends, we are now starting to get back into the preseason of hockey. Therefore, I will start to put out more videos. So other than that, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great time, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.